Welcome back to the Matt Kohrs Show, where we're here to talk about breaking news, stock market updates, and other interesting things I find on the interwebs and want to share with all of you. Today's episode is honestly a pretty crazy one, so you might want to buckle up. We have an important announcement from the President of the United States, Mr. Joe Biden. We also have an update on a story from yesterday surrounding the media chaos and Tucker Carlson and AOC's official response. And then finally, we have to get into why the overall stock market is absolutely vomiting. And there'll be a special emphasis on what in the world is going on with First Republic Bank, which is vomiting more so than even the overall market. Obviously, there's a lot of crazy things, so like I said, make sure you buckle up, destroy the like button, make sure you subscribe, and let's ride. Now, obviously, I couldn't let the cat out of the bag. I had to hook you into this, but now that you're here, it's time to share the real story. Vin Diesel's arms may be associated with a movie success. Yes, you heard that properly. Movies in which Vin Diesel wears 4 tank tops and spends 15% of the film wearing them are better liked by critics and make more money than movies in which he wears fewer tank tops for less time. So to any of the fancy schmancy movie execs who are watching this update video, this is the ultimate money glitch. I used to think that it was inverse Kramer, but apparently all you have to do is put Vin Diesel in your movie, make sure he's wearing tank tops, and show off those guns. Speaking of being really fast and really furious, that was awful. Sorry, I couldn't think of a better segue. President Biden makes it official. He's running once again in 2024. President Joe Biden formally announced that he would seek re-election in 2024, readying a historic campaign against a Republican field dominated by his predecessor, while economic uncertainty clouds his case for a second term. I don't know about you, but I already am getting the popcorn ready for the Biden-Trump debates. I'm sure that they're going to be beyond entertaining. Biden, who is 80 and apparently as old as time itself, implored voters to let him finish this job he began when he took office and put aside any worries about his age. The president is on track to easily be renominated, but faces a tough general election battle to remain in the White House with the nation as divided as ever. Biden made his decision official with a video release in which he said his promise to heal the soul of America following Donald Trump's presidency is not yet fulfilled, and that the nation still faces threats from extremists in the Republican Party. Now, in all reality, I don't really care if you like Biden or if you like Trump. All I ask is that you're an informed voter. But what I do want to point out here is that you ever notice how they love to use these high-level terms, soul of America, something that sounds fancy and in reality doesn't mean anything? And I'm not particularly picking on Biden here. I'm just pointing out that all politicians do it as if none of us see through it. It's all just garbage. The question we are facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election. Once again, super high-level statements that on the surface level sound pretty good, but when you think about it, it makes you shrug your shoulders and think, what in the world are you talking about? Now, here's the part that I find to be the most interesting, or maybe I should say concerning. Already the oldest person ever elected US president, Biden would be 86 at the end of his second term and faces intense scrutiny about his fitness to serve another 4 years in the White House. That's very fair scrutiny. 86? Now, I'm no doctor, I'm no biologist, but I don't think it's going to take an expert to really point out the fact that your brain's ability really starts to fall off, especially at the geriatric age of 86. His kickoff message shows he is betting that voters will reward him for his decades of experience and record while looking past age concerns. So basically, he's thinking that people will reward him for being a career politician as opposed to either being or borderline being senile. But don't you worry, if you have any concerns, he did follow up the video with this tweet. My economic plan is a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America. It's for you. So if you're sitting there worrying about the economy or maybe the political divisiveness within the US or geopolitical concerns abroad or just really the whole shebang, don't you worry, because this is his plan and it's for you. And if you don't feel that way, well, obviously you're just simply wrong and you're not looking at it properly. Now, before you go all keyboard warrior on me in the comments, I'm not just particularly picking on him, I'll pick on any of these politicians, and my personal overall point is, how are these our options? In a country that has over 300 million people, you're not telling me we have two people who are intellectual titans, absolute physical specimens, and just better than all of us in pretty much all measurable categories? I just don't understand it from a statistical standpoint, how we simply do not have better options. So with that out there, I would love to get your thoughts in a comment below. Let me know who you're voting for and why. And now moving on, just in case you missed yesterday's update video, there was a big change, a seismic change, if you will, in the world of mainstream media. Both Tucker Carlson of Fox and Don Lemon of CNN kind of got the boot, and the announcements for both of them came only an hour apart, which, if you ask me, is a little sus in itself, but that's not really what this particular video is about. What I really want to dive into is some of the responses from this news that I think at a minimum will cause you to raise your eyebrow. Here's what the esteemed and always intellectual AOC had to say about Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
A better guy.
What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country.
Is that proven?
I also kind of feel
is there evidence for that?
I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled. And then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something.
Here's where it gets crazy.
But deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen.
Yeah, you're totally right to think, wow, she actually said that. Now, in reality, he's not going to be deplatformed. Tucker Carlson, if you look at the Nielsen ratings, massively popular. He's going to get a platform deal pretty much wherever he wants, and I'm sure he's going to make more money than ever before, but that's not really the focus of this. It is crazy that a sitting politician is somehow rooting for the deplatforming of a media personality who just, I guess, they don't get along. I find that just kind of crazy, but hey, I guess everyone is entitled to free speech, which is kind of the beauty of platforms hosting people, as long as you're not breaking the rules. But I just find it wild that time and time again, she always leaves your jaw on the floor in a more negative way than you could ever imagine. And now for the highlight of the episode, the reason why you most likely clicked on this video in the first place. Why in the world did the stock market absolutely vomit today? To put it simply, a lot of uncertainty in the world of earnings announcements, specifically led by FRC, First Republic Bank, which is having an absolutely horrific day. Before we get into the finer details of First Republic seemingly exploding, you need to know that we are in the middle of an insane earnings week and an insane earnings season. In fact, this week, 40% based by market cap of the entire S&P 500 will be reporting. The only big one that's really missing is Apple. If you're watching this in time, both Microsoft and Google will be reporting this evening, and later on this week we have Boeing, Meta, Roku, American Airlines, Caterpillar, Amazon, Intel, and Snapchat, just to name a few. I do think it's important for you to know that even though FRC fumbled their earnings, there was a group of pretty solid positive reports, including JetBlue, GM, McDonald's, Pepsi, and Spotify. With that being said, it was not enough for the overall market to overcome First Republic saying their deposits tumbled 40% to 104.5 billion in the first quarter, but a little silver lining, at least it has stabilized, allegedly. Now I say allegedly because First Republic's deposit exodus has analysts more bearish than ever. So bearish, in fact, that the stock vomited over 40% in a single session, and we probably should have seen this coming. First of all, they didn't take any questions during their earnings call, which is a little sus. One analyst was quoted saying, taking no questions on the call and disclosure that there is no certainty in the future of the bank if unable to strengthen the business speaks volumes. FRC's existence still very much hangs in the balance. And arguably even worse, this was said by Jim Cramer not too long ago. FRC is new focus, very good bank. Now that I'm reading this to you, I should have known this was the dagger in the heart type of a moment. I mean, seriously, I don't think anything's better on this planet than doing the exact opposite of Cramer. But to be fair, none of what I just said was the worst part. As we were trading throughout the day, for First Republic, things got even worse and even worse and even worse. Listen to this clip for an example where midday they decided to announce that in terms of a rescue plan, they are potentially thinking about divesting $50 to $100 billion of their assets, and this is coming after they lost over $100 billion worth of their deposits in the last quarter.
First Republic came out with its earnings disappointing on deposit outflows. Now we understand it's sailing up from $50 billion to $100 billion in assets. We're talking here long-dated securities, we're talking mortgages, Ed. All of this is about an asset-liability mismatch that for the overall First Republic California-based bank has at the moment.
Brutal.
Maybe they sell those to US banks, Ed. Maybe it's about incentivizing them to buy them above their market value. We know the impact that had on Silicon Valley Bank, the fact that we'd seen price destruction in long-dated bonds. So maybe you get a warrant, preferred equity to do that. And all of this, of course, Ed, is about trying to stop being seized by the FDIC.
But wait, there's more. Not just price destruction, which might be leading to your portfolio destruction, especially if you're this guy who is trying to degenerately get into FRC, the situation gets even worse. Now, if you look at the sources including BBC, Reuters, CNN, and Forbes, this is a good summary of it. Shareholders have sued the bank and alleged that the bank misled investors about its financial health. The lawsuit accused First Republic and its auditor, KPMG, of misrepresenting the strength of the bank's balance sheet and liquidity. The White House, Federal Reserve, and Treasury are now considering an open bank strategy to rescue First Republic, which could involve creating a special purpose entity to buy the bank's underwater loans. The bank is reportedly considering a sale to another bank, but it is unclear if any buyers will be willing to pay a premium for the company. If First Republic is unable to find a buyer, it could be forced to file for bankruptcy. So am I down a lot of money on FRC? Yes. Is it painful to talk about? Yes. Is it even painful to think about? Yes. That's exactly what happens when you have a stock drop 49.4% in a single trading session. Alas, don't you worry, I'm still a degenerate through and through, and that ended up paying off today because I decided to take the rest of my account and YOLO it into some S&P 500 put options. By the time the closing bell went dingity ding ding ding, the overall market was down 1.6%, which happens to be the worst drop since March of 2022 on a single day, which also means people who YOLO'd into put options ended up getting paid off pretty nicely. Now, very quickly as a side note, I didn't actually end up closing that position, so if you give me enough time, I'm sure I could fumble the bag on both of these trades. Just be a little patient with it, and I'm sure in one of the future update videos, it's gonna be me probably crying. In the meantime though, don't forget to pay attention to the key upcoming earning reports and announcements, and then don't forget next week, we also have the next interest rate hike from the FOMC meeting, all things that have a massive impact on the market, which will most likely prompt more chaos and definitely a lot of volatility. I truly appreciate your time. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe if you want to become a Goonie. I'll catch you in the next video.